Everyone, especially thank you so much for being here to all of our special guests that have joined us today. In Kentucky, we are known for many things: horse racing, bourbon, and certainly college athletics. And in the next couple of weeks, the rest of the world is going to know that Kentucky is the center of the basketball universe. So today, we are here to celebrate the signing of Senate Bill 6. We take a step towards equity for the athletes that we cheer on. As a former college basketball player, I am thrilled for the student athletes who will benefit from this legislation. For generations, student athletes worked and worked, but were never able to capitalize on the revenue that they generated for their schools and communities. Last June, we started to see that in Kentucky. Following the Supreme Court landmark decision, Governor Beshear was the first governor in the nation to act by signing an executive order to immediately allow student athletes to receive compensation. Today, that becomes law in Kentucky. This bipartisan agreement is an example of what can happen when we come together and work for Kentuckians. So let's get to it. I'm going to turn it over to Governor Beshear.
Thank you. All right. Well, good morning and welcome to the Capitol Rotunda. We are so proud of the organizations, the teams that are represented here today, regardless of which one that you are an intense fan of. You make the Commonwealth, each and every one of you and all of your players, so proud. And as we are here today in person, without masks, I just want to thank so many of our coaches, athletic directors, presidents, and leaders for stepping up in a difficult time, showing a great example. We greatly appreciate your leadership, and you did it in the most difficult of moments. So we're here today to celebrate teamwork, cooperation, and the flawless execution of a game plan, something some of these folks in this room know about a lot better than I do. In just a moment, I will sign Senate Bill 6 into law, allowing our great student athletes to be fairly compensated for the use of their name, image, and likeness. Your image and your name are yours, given to you by God and your parents. And today we recognize each and every one of those individuals. Senate Bill 6 codifies the rights I extended to student athletes last year. On June 24th, I was proud to be the first governor in the nation to address this issue by signing an executive order. About a week later, after other states followed our lead, the NCAA announced it would not block those steps. Before taking action, though, I listened. I listened to leaders in higher education. I listened to our coaches and to our athletic directors, and most importantly, to the student athletes themselves, like the University of Kentucky's Ryan Howard, who is here with us today, two-time SEC Player of the Year. And now, along with her teammates, SEC champion for the first time since 1982. So congratulations to you and Coach Kyra Elzy for bringing home the first SEC championship in 40 years. You all may know that we were finally able to have a ring ceremony for that last women's team that won the SEC tournament this last year. And given that amount of time, we're going to have this one probably tomorrow so that we can ensure many good years to come. And we have some more teams to congratulate. First, while they broke Rocky Atkins' heart, the Murray State Racers for being the first men's team from Kentucky to earn their spot in this year's NCAA tournament. They are 18-time OVC champs. Murray State beat Moorhead, but 4 points. Best two teams in that conference, both being from Kentucky, both making us proud. And good job to Moorhead on a great finish and a great season. We got this close to having Northern Kentucky University that has had such an amazing last decade as a conference champion as well. We are proud of you. We were rooting for you, and we will continue to support you. And, of course, there's another champion in the house. You may see the trophy right here. And that's because Bellarmine beat Jacksonville 77-72 last night to win the Atlantic Sun Conference Championship. In just their second year in D1. I said, this is pretty incredible, Coach. To do just 2 years into D1, he said, yeah, Andy, but I did it in a pandemic too. And given the executive order got us where we are today, I think we ought to look at one to put you guys in the NCAA tournament.
I vote yes.
And again, last night, U of L men beat Georgia Tech in the first round of the ACC tournament and take on Virginia tonight. These are just some examples of how far our teams are going this year. March Madness is just starting, and spring practice is now underway. Each and every one of these coaches told me this had to be this morning for either travel plans or practice. University of Kentucky's men's team is set to open up SEC tournament play Friday night in Tampa. The U of L women are projected to be a top seed in the NCAA tournament, which Coach tells me means they're going to host their first couple games in the Yum Center. We look forward to being there to root you on. And when you're governor and you start saying congratulations to one team, I really start worrying that I'm leaving another out. But I want to thank, again, each one of these programs each year for putting our student athletes first, and that's truly what this bill does. So today we're here to once again focus on what happens when Team Kentucky works together. Executive branch, legislative branch. I remember talking to the leaders of both the House and the Senate, both the majority and the minority, as we were putting together that executive order with a plan when the General Assembly came into session to do just what has happened. That executive order ensured our schools were not at a competitive disadvantage during a pretty highly competitive recruiting season. And it also gives our student athletes the same rights and opportunities that they could find in other states. This new law will codify that. It will ensure the same and that every individual athlete's name, image, and likeness are their own and no one else's. For decades, student athletes, unlike their peers, were barred from pursuing compensation associated with skills and talents. And unlike most of their non-athlete peers, student athletes are the main attraction of what is a multi-billion-dollar industry in this country. While there have been some well-intentioned reasons for these rules, especially over time, the effects have become increasingly burdensome and hard to justify. You have all done your part. The student athletes and coaches in this room have done their jobs and stood up for their players. They've been building strength and growing their individual skills, these players. These coaches have been recruiting and building organizations that win games and championships. They've created environments good for our student athletes and earned reputations that draw fans by the thousands and bring a sense of community to their schools and a sense of pride to our state. I received a lot of help and support from university and athletic communities. I want to thank just a couple by name: UK Athletic Director Mitch Barnhart, Murray State University President Bob Jackson, UK men's basketball coach John Calipari, UK women's basketball coach Kyra Elsie, UK football coach Mark Stoops, U of L head football coach Scott Satterfield, and Josh Hurd, the interim athletic director at U of L. Just a couple of the many people who are here that talked with me and these legislators in the early days to make sure that we could get this right. Also here with us today is Ken Bothoff. Did I? Yeah, I did it. No, tell me. I want to get it. Yeah? Oh, Director of Athletics from Northern Kentucky University. We have Darren Horn, our coach for the men's team at Northern Kentucky University. Scott Davenport, championship-winning men's basketball coach at Bellarmine University. Jamie Gordon, athletic director and volleyball coach, Morehead State University. Anybody else's AD coach too? Darren Horn, men's basketball coach, NKU, this twice. Jay Morgan, President, Morehead State University. Mark Stoops, football coach for UK. Jeff Walls, women's basketball coach for U of L. Scott Wygant, Director of Athletics, Bellarmine University. Walt Wells, football coach, Eastern Kentucky University. And those aren't the only people that we've got to make sure that we thank today, and you're going to hear from a number of them. As we work through this, help from leaders such as House Speaker David Osborne, Senate Minority Floor Leader Morgan McGarvey, House Minority Floor Leader Joni Jenkins, Senate President Robert Stivers, and I want to specifically thank those that ushered this legislation through. In the Senate, Senators Wise and Senator McGarvey for sponsoring the legislation, and in the House, Ruth Ann Palumbo for carrying it to the finish line. You know, this is what happens when we show just a little bit of the teamwork we see in each of these programs right here in Frankfort. Today is a good day, not just for these programs, but for every student athlete currently there and those that are coming. Let's make sure that we continue to embrace these programs. Let's make sure that we provide opportunities to these student athletes, both in their education and getting them on a sound financial footing, so that we ensure that every single student athlete that ever comes to Kentucky to participate in one of these programs has a productive, exciting life, and hopefully never forgets the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Congratulations, everybody.
All right, so next up, we are going to hear from the senators who made this law possible. And first up, we're going to have Senator Morgan McGarvey.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor Coleman, and thank you, Governor Beshear. Thank you guys for your all's leadership on this issue, for having us here today. Make no mistake about it, this is a great day in Kentucky sports history. And as we get started, you have all these wonderful teams, all these wonderful coaches represented. And so picking your favorite team from this podium is like somebody asking you, who's your favorite child? You got one, but you just shouldn't say it publicly. Not enough of you guys have multiple kids. But I would be remiss if I didn't think back to what Tip O'Neill said when he said all politics is local, if I didn't give a special shout out to my coach and Bellarmine University for what they did last night in winning that championship. Coach, we're proud of you. And if you're a Kentuckian, you know this is the most wonderful time of the year. But we got to do more than wish our teams and our student athletes good luck, right? We have to put in place the policies that allow our universities to compete and our student athletes to be treated fairly. And that's what's happened. I think what you've seen happen is an example of how policy should happen in Kentucky, with everyone coming together. Governor, you led on this issue with your executive order, and we are so grateful for your leadership on that. You know, what people didn't know is that the governor's office was reaching out to the legislators who'd worked on this issue previously before the executive order, saying, what have you guys done? You heard him talk about reaching out to the schools in higher ed, saying, how do we get this right? And then, of course, when the executive order was issued, we knew that we needed to put this in law, so everybody knows that student athletes will have the rights to their own name, image, and likeness. That these student athletes who work so hard at their sport, who can't have another job when they're in college, have the ability to control their name, image, and likeness, have the ability to earn some extra money. And that's when Senator Wise and I got together, right, and said, how do we get together with the governor's office, with the universities in the state, and make sure that these protections are here for these student athletes forever? I think one part about this process, when we're talking about sports, this was a team, right? This was a team from the staff, Josh Collins, who worked so hard, who were behind the scenes this entire time working to make sure this legislation came on board. You had Democrats and Republicans. You had universities who might compete against each other on the court coming together to say, how do we get the best law to protect our kids? You had the governor reaching across to the legislative branch, right? This was a team effort. And never once did someone say, who's going to get the credit? This was about the kids. This was about making sure that student athletes get control over their name, image, and likeness, and that Kentucky can lead the way, not just on the court, but off it, in making sure our student athletes are treated fairly. It's been a wonderful part to be a process of. It's been a wonderful part to be with these coaches, and As we wish you good luck in your tournaments, we're going to wish you more than that. We're going to wish you continued success for your programs and for your student athletes. I think this is a great day in Kentucky, and it's a great way to make sure you see everybody coming together as a team to support what we are. Because if you're a Kentuckian, again, you know this is the most wonderful time of the year, but you know that we're not a pro sports state. We love college sports. College sports is part of the fabric of the tapestry of who we are. And this makes sure that our student athletes and our college programs will succeed for years to come.
So next up, we have an additional senator who was a primary sponsor on this legislation. And I have to say that Senator Wise, before he was a senator and had this career in politics, first he was the son of a storied women's basketball coach in Donna Wise in Campbellsville University, and I just have to say that because she blazed the trail for so many women in college sports in Kentucky. So Senator Wise, would you like to come up, please?
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor Coleman, and my mother missed out on recruiting and signing you also, I must say, in front of everybody as well. Governor, thank you. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for the executive order. You provided the framework for what we were able to put together with this piece of legislation. Senator McGarvey, I always look forward to working with you across the aisle in a bipartisan manner. I'm hoping that you take this piece of legislation on to possibly your next career path in the U.S. Congress so we can see action done at the federal level of what else that may provide. Lieutenant Governor is correct. I was born into a coaching family. My mother coached for 32 years at Campbellsville University, the only place where she coached, but became the all-time state winningest women's college basketball coach. And I never thought when I was campaigning or being in office I ever would have a piece of legislation that would relate to athletics. My wife was a college basketball player who actually played with Coach Elsey on the Kentucky All-Star team that played against Indiana. You could see I did not have the success of my mother and my wife, but I do have a piece of legislation that I can say that I was happy to champion through the Senate with working with my colleagues from both the House and the Senate. This is a phenomenal day for every one of us that are here. It's a phenomenal day for our student athletes. This will allow flexibility. It allows flexibility for universities and student athletes to work together. It'll provide a framework for life skills, for financial literacy, for helping those student athletes. I think it'll also be beneficial for those student athletes that may be teetering on making that decision whether to make a jump or to stay put, that it can help compensate. It can help those families, it can help those student athletes achieve their dreams and still be on a track to attain a college degree while here within the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And we do hear a lot about this being very beneficial for our flagship universities, but also look at the benefit it can provide a Northern Kentucky university, a Morehead State, a Murray State, or our regional universities as they can partner and work with student athletes. This is a changing landscape. These coaches they know that firsthand. Transfer portal, NIL, it changes daily, and this legislation, I think, will also continue to change as we move forward. I'll be open to working once again with my colleagues across the aisle and in the House, because I don't think this is over with NIL. I think next session we may have to make some tweaks, working with the governor's office on any things we can do to strengthen this piece of legislation. And Coach Cal made the comment that this is model legislation, and I do think other states can look to Kentucky. The way we did this, the way we worked together, and the way we put our student athletes first with our university's best interest in mind. It is an honor to be here. I do also want to echo Senator McGarvey's comments on Josh Collins. He's the gentleman back in the yellow sweatshirt. They are the bill drafters. They are the ones that do the research. We're the ones that may go down with credit by our names beside a bill. But if we do not have like a good coach, a good supporting staff behind the scenes, Josh, thank you. And to our Legislative Research Commission. Once again, thank you all for the opportunity. Thank you also to Representative Palumbo, Representative Bowling, other members of the House that are able to carry this through. I look forward to also getting the resolution that is on the F1 visa issue for international students to help those individuals. It's another issue that needs to be addressed. We plead to our U.S. Congress members. This is for all student athletes. not just those within these borders, but those that come to the United States of wanting to achieve their dreams and to play college sports. Allow those students to prosper as much as our students here within the United States. Thank you all so much. God bless.
So thank you again to the senators and governor for making this a reality. I spent far more time on the sidelines than I have in the Capitol, so I'm going to say that's enough politics today. And we're going to hear from the coaches and players who I know are very excited to be here with us. So first up, a man who needs no introduction is UK basketball coach John Calipari and his lucky watch.
I lost my Rolex too.
I got the watch. There it is. Everybody sees the watch. All I can say is, wow. This was leadership. When you talk about leadership, there's a void, and I'm willing to step up. Our governor with the executive order. Senator Wise and Senator McGarvey, the work they did. Josh, I got to give you a shout out. Representative Palumbo from our own district. This was nearly unanimous. That's a word, bipartisan. I didn't even know it still existed. This thing was across the board for student athletes, but it protected universities. It protected students. You may not know this, you got to look deep. They went and said, if you sign a contract in our state and you go pro, you can get out of that contract. I mean, they went deep in how do we protect these young people, but how do we give them the opportunity? The flexibility in this bill, like, wow, because things are moving and they're moving fast. I believe it's model legislation that will be looked at now to say, well, we can do this. There's protection on both sides. There's the ability for student athletes to say, wait a minute, let's get together and see if this is the right thing to do. I'd say to all the coaches and administrators and presidents that were involved in this, thank you. I'd say all the athletes, you now have an opportunity not just to make money, to be trained, learn as you go forward. Again, I just want to thank everybody. And how about our women's basketball team? And this is not the place to say it, but I have to. Ryan Howard's not just a terrific basketball player. She is a terrific person, kind, humble, and she can play. I wish I had her this weekend. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Coach Cal. And next up, we have the man who built the University of Louisville women's basketball program from the ground up to have the most successful team in program history, and that is Coach Jeff Walls.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll follow with Coach Cal. I know he thanked everyone, so I don't do the same thing to take more time. But what I want to speak briefly about is I know everybody thinks this is how our student athletes can make money. I want you to know these student athletes also are now able to give back. Haley Van Lith, one of our student athletes, when this came to fruition and we were able to do this, she worked with her sponsors that she's already established through her name, image, and likeness to put a start back to school package together for an elementary school in the West End, the school that we partner with. Nothing came to her. She put backpacks together with her teammates of little items for a start your school year and took those down and gave those out to every student at the elementary school. I think so many people think it's all about what the student athlete can get. Now it's more so also what they can give back. And I hope everyone will realize that. This is a wonderful bill. It's a wonderful opportunity for our student athletes to finally be able to make a little money off their name, their image, but it's also an opportunity for them to give back. Because all I ever hear with this is they're going to make money, they're going to make money. Well, it also gives them that chance to give. And it's just as important in life to give as it is to receive. And I think you're going to find out what special athletes we have in this Commonwealth who are going to give back to the communities that support them. Because at this point in time, we can sign autographs, they can take pictures, but now they're able to do bigger and better things. So I want to say thank you to our governor, lieutenant governor, everyone that was involved in this bill to help get this passed, and want to wish all of the coaches here the best of luck. Kyra, Ryan, I was fortunate to coach Ryan in summer basketball at USA Basketball, and to show my age, I even coached Kyra for 2 summers in AAU basketball, and she was a pretty good player in her day. So I just want to say thank you for this opportunity and wish everyone the best. Thank you.
Next up, we have the president of Morehead State University. And President Morgan, I'm just going to go ahead and let you know you're probably going to get a question from Rocky Atkins about back pay with NIL. So just be ready for that one. President Morgan.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Thank you for the opportunity to be here on behalf of the university presidents. On behalf of the presidents, we would like to pause and thank you, Senator Wise, for your leadership, Senator McGarvey and other Senate sponsors for your wisdom in the Senate, and also Representative Palumbo, wherever she went, over there, and other House members for advancing this through the House, and especially to you, Governor Beshear, for your foresight early in this process, pushing this model legislation forward, particularly at the early stages. Senate Bill 6 really sets forth student-athlete opportunities, and we're proud of that. All of us are in the student success business, including the student-athlete business. But more importantly, it sets forth guardrails that all of us can utilize as we steer this ship of really uncertainty as we go forth in collegiate athletics. It definitely is a new world in that aspect for collegiate athletics. As my fellow presidents and I sit around and we try to operationalize legislation and policy, oftentimes it's difficult. It's difficult to implement a number of things on a university campus, but I'm proud to say in reviewing and reading this bill, and with the input that every entity provided here, every single entity, we believe that this is a model piece of legislation that we can operationalize on our campus, and that it will be great going forward. So thank you to everybody who included higher education in this. Thank you to the leadership in our legislative bodies, and also to you, Governor. I just want the 4 points back from playing Murray the other night. So.
And last but not least, one of the many reasons that we are so excited that this is coming to fruition today, a shining star in the state of Kentucky and across the country, is one of the most talented players I have ever seen. She just makes it look easy. She just glides across the floor. SEC Player of the Year and SEC champion, Ryan Howard.
Save the best for last, right? First and foremost, y'all know what I'm trying to say. I'm very honored to be here to speak on behalf of all the student athletes in Kentucky. I want to begin by thanking Governor Beshear and the state legislature for passing this bill to do what's best for the athletes in Kentucky. I also would like to thank Mr. Barnhart, Dr. Capilouto, and Rachel Baker, amongst others, for guiding us throughout every step of the way and doing everything they can to help us profit and benefit from this. On behalf of all student athletes, we are very thankful for being able to be compensated for all the work that we do. With that being said, we are one team and one Kentucky. Go Cats.
And now the moment we've all been waiting for. We're actually going to have the governor sign the executive order, but we need to bring the table in so that we have enough room to be able to do that. So,
We may have to pick up the chairs to bring it
Yeah.
here so everybody can get. Oh, we're going to pull it up here? Okay, yes, sir.
who's got
Apparently he's my coach.
I know, right?
All right. You ready? All right, everybody. If you want to be a part, it's your option.
Yes, here, Ryan, you can put here.
Come on up here. Yeah, we'll put you here.
We have a whole bunch of these. Coach? Good. Coach? You got it? Okay. Hey, Josh, I bet you wish you wore a button down today.
I got here at 5:20 this morning.
They keep coming.
Good luck to you. All the best. All the best. Good luck to you. My pleasure. Good to see you. If y'all need me, I'll anytime. Okay? I mean that. Anytime.
This is how each of you say, I personally made it happen. All right, we have a couple more of these.
See you soon. Two-way street. Okay? Two-way street.